Hi, it's Kate, and this is a little exercise on values, whether they're personal values or family values that you're doing this exercise for. So I haven't done this for my personal values, but I've done it with Yoga Healer, and I've done it with my immediate family, which is me and Winston and Indigo. And I'm just going to tell you how we created our values and how I've used them. In another video, I talk about it with Yoga Healer. In this video, I'm going to talk about it with family values. But if you're living alone, I would just do it by yourself for yourself and get really clear what your values are. And there's a number of reasons that this is so helpful, whether you're doing it alone or whether you're doing it with your core peeps. Let me just talk a little bit about what your values are. They're things that you're already doing. They're the way that you already are. They're the morals and ethics that you already have. So you're simply articulating what is. It's not like you're trying to come up with something. It's already happening. All you're doing is codifying it. You're just landing it in some concrete, almost tagline sentences. And the reason we do this is a number. What I'm finding is that it's useful in a number of ways. One of the ways it comes in handy with Winston and Indy is it gets us on the same page. So we have a weekly family meeting and we read our values at each meeting until we memorize them, or until they're just so much part of how we refer and speak to things in order to clear up issues, in order to call each other to a higher plane of being, which we all need, including moi from time to time, right? So it just helps in that way, get on the same page. And then we also use it for conflict resolution, right? We use it to resolve issues. The issues might be really small. For instance, the other day, it was time to pick up the stuff in the house. There's just kind of a little bit of clutter. We like to keep a very clean, clear environment. And there's clutter. So we just called a 15-minute pickup session. And in this case, not to give her a bad name, but Indy was pretty pouty during the pickup session. And you know what that's like when you're trying to get something done together, and it can be so much fun, or it can be kind of horrible. And her poutiness was making it kind of horrible. But we have a value that we pitch in to keep our properties clean and neat and in good condition. And so that pitching in part, that really helps. We want to pitch in with our attitude too. We don't want to just pitch in terms of doing the actual actions. We want to be all in. We want to be all in together. We want to pitch in together. And so, things like that, it's just really easy to go back to a value and say, hey, let's talk about this value for a minute. What is it like to pitch in with people that are not psyched to be there versus people that are psyched to be there? And so we can use it to resolve issues. My sense is that from working with the values as using them as part of a weekly meeting, and we do this both with the Yoga Healer team, and then now we're doing it with our weekly family meetings, is that you end up naturally memorizing them. What I have found with Indy, we've been doing this for a couple months, is she'll call us out on the values, which is great. One of our values is that she always knows where we are. And so if she doesn't know where we are, she's just hey, I didn't know where you were, and that's one of our values. And it just helps resolve issues quickly. You end up memorizing them just because you use them. With the values, once you have a list, you don't want to just set it and forget it. It won't work. It won't do anything. It'll actually have just been a whatever. It'll have been an experience. And you're oh, I got that. If you're not using it all the time, you don't got it. And I find this is really true with Yoga Healer. We have a value that we orient towards thrive. And what that means to me is that thrive is always available. For any project that we're working on, in any situation, we can orient towards thrive. Thrive is a baseline experience that's available to us. And if we're not orienting towards it, we're not paying attention to it. And so when anything comes up, we want to orient hey, this is a tweaky, weird situation. Where's thrive here? What does that look like? And it helps us orient as a team. So we sit and if we talk about that for 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, it's going to be a very different meeting, because any issue that comes up, we're just looking for thrive, and we're looking for it together. The other thing about the values, another way that we use them is to see if someone's a good fit. So say you're just doing these values personally, but you're wanting to have a life partner, or just have a partner for the next phase of your life, whatever that looks like. And you go through and you codify your values. It's going to be much easier when you're meeting someone or getting to know someone. If they have a value that's actually antagonistic to one of your values, it's going to become really obvious to you a lot quicker. And then you'll be able to resolve the issue. You'll be able to see, is there actually harmony in there? Is there is someone willing to move on that one or not? And if not, it's like, it's kind of clear. Whereas if someone's a good fit, it's also equally clear. You're like, oh my gosh, we have the same values. And when you have the same values as someone, you gain traction really quick. And that's what we find that's what we find at Yoga Healer. Like, it's really, actually we find it in the family too, but I'll talk about Yoga Healer first. When we're interviewing someone, even internally, say a yoga health coach is displaying leadership skills and we'd like them to come onto the leadership team and have different opportunities for them, we'll know if it's a good fit from the values, just the way they're acting in the community. We'll just know if it's a good fit. So that's super helpful. In the family, when, for instance, Indy is 8 years old, so she's bringing new friends into the house. And if someone doesn't work out, usually we can go back to a value. And it often has to do with how, like, we keep our properties clean and neat. And that comes down to an ethic of having respect for things and having respect for other people's things. So if some of her friends come in and they don't have respect for things, it's just not part of how they're raised. It's not part of what goes on in their home. It often, in many ways, it will help her know why something just felt off to her, didn't work out, or she felt taken advantage of. So heavy stuff for an 8-year-old, but it's true. Like, values are values, and we're just looking to know who we are in this exercise, what we're already doing, codify that, and then put it into practice. Sometimes we will act out of accordance with our own values, and when we do, it's an integrity breach. We all do it. What's nice about a value is you see, like I have one value with the Yoga Healer team, that we communicate with candor and care. My tendency is candor. Other people's tendency is care. For me, my growing edge is care. So if I'm communicating from a place that's not full of care, then I'm out of integrity with myself. And so if I see myself doing that, then it's like, okay, I gotta make a course correction here. So it's very helpful for us to raise ourselves into the integrity that that is the code behind our life. I hope that's helpful. So your next actions are to go through the values worksheet and do this again. If you're in a family or you're living with other people and you want to do it with the people that you're living with, if you are in an organization and you want to do it with the people you're working with, right? Or if you're living a very secluded life, and you just want to do this by yourself, do it. But if it's with other people, sit down and do it together. It's got to come up together. Like, hey, how do we do things around here? What's important to us? What's our code that we live by together? Come up with it together, because when you come up with it together, there's buy-in, meaning that everyone's invested. Everyone's got a piece of themselves in it. And if people don't have a piece of themselves in it, it's much harder. They're not going to want to talk about the values at the weekly family meeting. They're not going to naturally train each other or tune each other with the values, and then you've really lost out on the true benefit of the exercise. What we had to do is actually schedule a separate meeting. It took us an hour, maybe a little longer, hour and a half, one time, to just figure out, me and Winston and Indy, what do we do? What do we like about it when it's going well? What do we like about it? And I'll just go over mine with you. So this is of this recording right now, and we use Kaizen, which is a steady, constant improvement with really everything in our lives. So these values might be different in a year, slightly, maybe a lot, probably not, but probably slightly different. We're always looking to improve. So I is Indigo, C is Kate, W is Winston. It's also Indigo Claire Welch, so we love that. I suggest if you have family values, come up with some acronym or some name, because otherwise if it's just family values, it sounds a little weird. Doesn't sound as personal. You want to brand it to your family. Okay, we work together as a team. So we had to add with a good attitude. Why? Because some of us were not displaying a good attitude when working together as a team. So we tweaked it. We work together as a team with a good attitude. We all pitch in weekly to keep our home and properties clean, neat, and in good condition. So this is one of our values. We have a lot of properties. We have right as of now, we have 6 properties. We're looking to not quite have so many. But that's a lot to do. So particularly our living environment where we're living at the time is the one we're really paying attention to. But it's also good for Winston and I. This is how we invest, is to make decisions that way based on how we want our properties to be. Okay, everything has one place. This takes the responsibility off any one person to keep the house neat or clean, particularly on the neat side. We support each other in learning. So every week, and you'll see this as part of our weekly meeting rhythm, as we talk about what we're learning right now. We want to have a very proactive life learning environment. We want to raise Indigo in that. When Winston and I were both raised with a value that was more of like when you're a kid, you're learning, and when you're an adult, you're kind of coasting, and that's not how we live as adults, and it's not an ethic that we want to reinforce. And so we want to reinforce this ethic of, hey, we're learning. I've been an avid student my entire life. You can always ask me whenever you meet me, like, Kate, what are you studying right now? And I will tell you specifically what I'm studying, with who I'm studying, who's my mentor, what books I'm reading, all that. And that's just one of our family values. Okay, we honor each other's requests. It doesn't mean we always do what each other asks. It's just we honor the place that the request is coming from, and we really do try to make it happen if it's totally in alignment with us as well. We keep our bodies happy and thriving. Indigo always knows where her parents are. Again, that comes from us being sort of free spirits, and that's a reactive value that helps remind us. We provide for Indigo's needs. We create opportunities for Indigo to earn money for her wants. This one has saved the day. This one saves the day about 10 times a week. Children have a lot of access right now. They have a lot of access to things. They're advertised to incessantly. And this one, it makes it very, very simple for us. Like, we provide for her needs, and then we create opportunities for her to earn. And we have a scale. Well, actually, there's a number of things that we match on. So we match on a lot of technology wants. We're a pretty pro-tech family. We also like things like new back-to-school clothes that aren't really needs, but if she wants to go on a shopping spree, and I kind of am thinking like that would be nice for her to have a nice back-to-school outfit, but it's not a need, I'll match it so she can earn money, and then I match her for certain things. Other things we don't match for, like candy, no matching. All right, we do what we say we'll do. This is big. I had to add this. I borrowed this one from Infusionsoft. Sometimes our values, we actually pick them up from other people's values, the way they say things, that just full resonance. I have a tendency to overextend myself. I have a tendency to say I'll do something and not follow through. Yep, that's me. And so I added this one in here because I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be that person to anyone. If I say I'm going to do something, I want to do it. If I say I'm going to meet you at 3 o'clock, I'm going to be there at 3 o'clock. So that one I personally had to add, and that one alone could add years to my marriage. All right, we have fun and effective weekly family meetings to support our big goal. Right now, our big goal is to create the most amazing house to live in together. So we're in the middle of a big project. We're building a new house. And so we're all kind of talking about the space and whatnot, but at our weekly family meeting, it's a way for us to get in line with our big goal. Because I have a decent amount of training in running a company and having quarterly goals, what I'm finding is it's actually great for families also to have quarterly goals. They don't have to be big things like building a house. I imagine we won't have a goal this big for a very, very long time after this, but it might be something like we may have a big goal of going on a family vacation together and deciding where we're going to go and what we're going to do and who's going to be responsible for bringing what and how it's all going to go down. That would be a really great big goal to have as a family. And then at your weekly family meeting, you just touch base on that goal. What I want to say about this is this value is that we are goal oriented and that we meet and report weekly. And so that's just part of our values. Your values are probably going to be very different than the ICW family values. So there may be some crossover, but the important thing to take from this is that you're doing it in your own words, right? That it makes sense that you're doing it with your people in your own words. All right, hop to it. Do the values worksheet and report on your values.